Good morning. Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish podcast. I really want to thank you guys for showing up today and just remind you that we have the Promote, Profit, Publish quiz as well. You can go over and take that and find out where your skills are at around publishing and promoting and really being able to monetize before your book is ever out. That's at www.promoteprofitpublishquiz.com. So today we have Chris Johnson with us, and Kristy Boyd Johnson is an accomplished writer across multiple genres. She has a passion for writing children's books with a life touch that leave you wondering about the possibilities. She's also ghostwritten over 20 nonfiction books, and now she helps entrepreneurs with their expert books. And that's where she fits a lot into the model that we use. We work with her a lot on these expert books so that they're really great products when they're done. Additionally, Kristy is an honors graduate of National University's School of Professional Studies and holds an MFA in professional screenwriting. Personally, Kristy is an avid reader. She loves swimming, yoga, and playing with her improv group. She is a very funny lady and lives with her family in San Diego. So welcome, Chris. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Juliet? So nice to be.
So I feel a little odd. You put Kristy on all this, and I always call you Chris. Do you have
either one.
Just, whatever you call me, I answer if it's not rude, right? No.
Years of teaching, the kids call me teacher, Miss J. Hey you.
Yeah, hey you. That's cool. That's right. You were a school teacher as well. So yeah, this must be so much easier. What grade did you teach?
Middle school.
Oh, so you drink too. I swear to God, that is the most miserable age for children. I don't even know how middle school teachers do it.
Yeah, my health has definitely improved since I have been away from teaching.
So you're going to talk to us today. You have a little slideshow here, which is really great. The people on the podcast can't see the slideshow, but we'll have a copy of this PowerPoint for you someplace on her website or our website, so you guys can go over and grab it. So talk to us about these 5 simple steps to prep your expert book.
Okay. Well, the key to writing a nonfiction book is in the preparation. If you know how to prep your book before you ever start writing a word, it will stop a lot of overwhelm from happening, a lot of just not knowing what to do, a lot of spin, that whole thing that happens when you start staring at a blank page and going, well, what do I do now? I was going to write my book, but I have all these ideas and I don't even know where to start. So the way to prep a book, it's actually pretty simple, and it's kind of like outlining like you learned in school, but not really. So the first step is to focus on your target audience. That is a key thing. If you are saying that your book is for everybody, then you don't know what your book is yet. You really have to know. For example, if you were a chiropractor and you were like, well, I'm going to write all about everything that I know about chiropractic, well, that's not really going to help specific people. But if you say focused on low back pain, then you have a target audience of people who suffer from low back pain who are going to want to hear what you have to say because you're addressing what they need very clearly. So that's a critical step. So I have an example, like let's say you're a teacher who specializes in learning disabilities. And so you're saying, I'm going to teach people all about learning disabilities in kids. Well, that's pretty broad strokes. So we're first going to focus on identifying the target audience with the phrase teach people. So people is too vague, it's too general, it's too big. So we want to be specific. So the teacher maybe thinks the general population doesn't really care, especially if they don't have kids or they don't have kids who have learning difficulties. They're not going to care about this. So maybe our teacher could focus on classroom teachers, help them spot warning signs early so their students can get help early on instead of as the kids get older and they have more of a struggle. Or our teacher, our writer here could focus on parents, because parents are the first to realize something's amiss with their children. They know their children. So our teacher here in our example is going to decide that she's going to write for parents. So now her idea reads, I will teach parents all about learning disabilities in kids. Better, right? Now we have a clear identified audience. So step 2, that leads to step 2, is to focus your topic idea in broad strokes. So our general idea here is all about learning disabilities. So we're going to take that phrase all about, and we're going to start with that, and we're going to make it more specific. That's the key to all of this, is to be very specific and clear what you're talking about. So maybe it's going to be about the symptoms of a learning disability, or the dangers of ignoring it, or the warning signs, or about the ways it can destroy a kid's self-worth, or what happens when the child does get older if it's not identified. So our teacher here in our example, our writer, is going to choose about the warning signs. So now we have our idea is now, I will teach parents about the warning signs of learning disabilities. So now we have a specific audience and we have a specific topic, warning signs. Now, learning disabilities is also very vague because there's so many of them. So now what you just want to do is take that phrase, and instead of saying learning disabilities, start identifying what does that mean. You're going to jot down the specific things that you could potentially cover in your book. So maybe it's dyslexia, or ADD, or ADHD, which are different, same but different. Asperger's syndrome is a big one these days. Any other ideas that you have, is just jot them down. You know, this is kind of a brain dump onto a piece of paper where you're just working with you're working on focusing your topic and getting very clear on what you're going to write, because that's the key to getting started on your first expert book. So our teacher is going to choose dyslexia, and now we have her idea is, I will teach parents how to spot the warning signs of dyslexia in their kids. We have a clear audience, we have a clear promise, spot the warning signs, and a clear identified problem, dyslexia. It's not vague, it's not general, it's very specific. So that is a huge, that right there will help your authors really get clear on what they're going to write.
Can I interject here for a minute too?
Absolutely.
Authors, coaches, speakers, marketers, like that is stuff you need for all of those ideas. Is that right there is a very clear message.
Yes, it works. It does. It works across the board for everybody. Yes. Okay, so clear, focused, easier to write, because now you are very focused in on what you're going to do, and that helps stop that spin of, what do I do? I have all these ideas and I don't know what to do. I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs I've heard say that to me. So we're going to go on to step 3, which is now that you have your clearly stated audience and idea, you're going to literally just list the concepts that you wish to cover in your book. So you're just going to, again, kind of brain dump, jot down. We're talking, in our example here, our author is talking about dyslexia's warning signs in kids. So maybe she wants to put in signs and symptoms, resources that are available to parents, things a dyslexic kid might say that are clues that there's a problem, tips that help the child at home that parents can do, things a classroom teacher says to parents that are also clues, tips for helping other family members understand the struggle, other kids in the family, or another parent that maybe is going, well, there's nothing wrong, you just need to try harder, something like that. Tips for finding the right kind of tutor. And then things a dyslexic kid does that are clues, which is different from what they say. So that's just a sample list that this author did when in thinking about her book. So step 4 now is you've got a nice list, and you're going to just organize that list so that the topics flow logically from one to the next to the next. And can you see here how that ends up becoming the chapters of your book? Because you put it in a nice flow order. Like, for example, you start with signs and symptoms because that's the first thing you need to know. And then you go on to what the kids say that are clues, what they do that are clues, things that the parents are seeing, the things that the classroom teacher's telling them, tips that can help the child at home and helping other family members understand, and then finding a tutor, and then resources. So we have a nice flow where it goes logically from here's what you're seeing, here's what's happening, here's what you've identified, now here's where you can go for help. And now you have an outline for the chapters in your book, a basic, very clear outline of each chapter. It could even be used as titles for the chapters.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's great.
So then now I have a little tip that is a quick start tip that I have found works really, really well. And that is to use 3x5 cards or 4x6 cards if you like them a little bigger. And you're literally going to write on one topic on each card that we just did in that list. So a card that's got resources on it, and then a different card that has things a dyslexic kid does at home that are clues. Stuff. Each card has its own, each chapter title has its own card. And then on that, each card you're going to list the things that are going to go in that chapter. So you're going to jot down your talking points. You're going to give examples. You're going to give anecdotes, real life stories that really help a reader understand where you're coming from and what they're seeing, and whatever else that they want to include in that chapter. Now, in our example with our author, who is a specialist in learning disabled kids, let's say she takes the card, things a dyslexic kid says that are clues. So she starts jotting down things they say. I don't get it. That is code for this is too confusing. I hate reading. That's code for this is too hard. Books are stupid. You'll hear that a lot. Lots of things are stupid to a dyslexic kid. I don't want to do this anymore. That means they're too frustrated. Why are you making me do this? Again, frustration. I hate school, which means everything is just too overwhelming for them and it goes too fast. I don't feel good. That's avoidance of the frustration and the pain that they're feeling. And then in our example, this teacher, she included a story about a specific kid who is age 7 as an illustrative example to show how this kid, what he was saying was showing the mother that there was a big problem, and then she knew to get him tested. So that's basically what you do. You do that for each section. You jot down your ideas, and when you're all done and you have all your cards, you have literally a roadmap to the whole outline of your book. Now you just take a chapter and write and fill it in with all the stuff on your card. And I always recommend that you don't worry too much about the order of the chapters. Just if you feel inspired to write one, if it's not chapter 1, if it's chapter 5, so what? Just write it down, because you can always order the chapters later after you get them all written. It's nothing to cut and paste everything into the right order in a Word document, in a manuscript. So don't ever stress about you have to go in order. It doesn't really work that way when you write a book. You have to kind of go with the flow on that.
Yeah, and I would love to add there too, as you're going with the flow on that, don't start going back and rewriting. Get the entire book out and then start your rewrites, because I see so many people micromanaging chapters to the point that the book doesn't get finished. And I think it's almost a form of sabotage. It
definitely is. It's very easy to get locked into the perfection thing.
Yeah.
And there is no perfection. So that's why I decided to do the prep this way, because it's very manageable in tiny little pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't seem so overwhelming, and it really helps to focus your plan. So then when you write, you're just writing this piece. You're not writing a whole book. and it just feels less intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, once you got everything in, you can kind of go, look at that. I have a book. It's all done. And it feels kind of magical.
Yeah. No, I can definitely see how that would.
Yes. So that's pretty much, those are the steps to prep a book. Everybody has their own kind of unique little way of doing it, but that if you make it work, make it your own. If you prefer to outline on a piece of paper, or you prefer to mind map, whatever way works for you. But this is a way that can really help you get jump started and stop that spin of, I don't know what to do, which is a form of writer's block, which never helps.
Yeah. No, and you know what? Writer's block is kind of, we could probably take a minute and talk about it. Writer's block is really, I think sometimes not what people think it is. You know, they think, oh, I just have no ideas in my head anymore. But I found with so many writers that I've worked with that every single book you write is a healing journey in some way. And I think writers aren't expecting that when they start it, unless they, you know, it's like their third or fourth book and they've realized that this is a pattern that keeps happening. A lot of times that writer's block is a little bit of sabotage if they're micromanaging it. But I think the blankness that comes in sometimes is your healing process with it. Yeah, because I've run into so many authors who, especially the ones that write kind of metaphysical books or healing books, that they find out, oh my gosh, I'm telling people how to heal that, but I think I had some stuff to heal in addition to what I'm communicating here. So it's always like this journey that you have to be prepared for when you write. It's a good journey.
Yes, Richard Bach even said that in his book Illusions. He said, you teach what you most need to learn.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, working with entrepreneurs, I see that all the time. I communicate this story, but I probably shouldn't. Many years ago, I had an author who wrote a book on procrastination, perfection. And she wrote that she had overcome perfection, and now she was going to share this with others. And on revision 23 of the manuscript, like my entire staff was like screaming at me and writing dirty notes to me about, this woman has no business doing this. She has not overcome her perfectionistic tendencies.
Yes. I think I have it up on somewhere I posted at some point this great little picture. It said, what is that? Done is better than perfect. Done, yeah. You know, because you know, you're never going to help anyone if you don't finish the book and just put it out there and let it be okay that you're a human being. And yeah, there may be a typo in there, but so what? You know?
Yeah. And then there are those people who get it done, but it's not done well. So, you know, there's definitely a balance there, because I'm more like that. Like, oh, I have to get this done. And then I go back later and maybe I didn't do that as well as I could have.
Right.
The goal was maybe not the right goal there.
That's why a good editor helps a lot, because you know, and one other thing too is that if you've written a first draft, rewrite it before you send it to an editor, because an editor will say, is this your first draft? And it'll just be a big, you know, you have to step back from it for a little while, give yourself a break, let your mind rest with it, then come back to it with fresh eyes and go through it again and go, oh yeah, okay, wait, this chapter needs to go up here, and this story would go better in this section, and, you know, and make it flow really, really well. Make sure you know, it's not just a bunch of words that don't say anything.
Yeah, I hear that from editors all the time. As a matter of fact, that, you know, people who bring them books, the editor will quote them a price and then get into the work and say, oh my gosh, you never rewrote this, did you? And so, you know, do you want me to stop here while you can rewrite, which tends to irk people, or, you know, we're going to have to charge you more because this is going to need an edit, and then it's going to need a re-edit when you're done rewriting. So that's always kind of a challenge. I actually have a client right now who contracted a company to help her write her book, but they gave her a time limit and she's not done. So they've edited the portion that she's finished, which is crazy, because why would you get it edited before it's done?
Right.
So
I think it's a thing. There's a thing in their head that they've done a first draft and it's done now. So now it's ready for publishing. And I think that writers understand that you're going to rewrite that book probably a minimum of 2 to 3 times. And most people probably rewrite more like 5 times.
mm-hmm.
And because there's a lot of moving pieces. And the prep that we just went through helps a lot with that, because if you organize it beforehand, you don't have that at the end where you're trying to figure it all out. It kind of helps with that. But there is that thing, and they go, I can't tell you how many people have called me and said, oh, my book is ready to be proofed and sent to the publisher. And I start getting into it and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? It doesn't make this isn't done at all.
Yeah, no, that's very much a thing. And the other side of that coin are people who bring us books, who, when I ask if they've been edited, they'll say, oh, you know what, my Aunt Millie is an English teacher. There's a big difference between an English teacher and an editor, a professional editor. Or they'll say, you know what, my cousin's really good at grammar. Well, there's much more to writing than grammar and punctuation.
Yes.
So it's always like, I actually have to have them sign a release, because it's not going to turn out well.
I totally hear that. Yeah. I had an experience of a client that asked me to. He said it's done, but it really needs a lot of writing. It needs a lot of adding in a lot of stuff, and the chapters need to be fleshed out, and then it also needs to be completely edited and proofread and all that. And I quoted him a price, and he was like, simple copy editing is really cheap. And I'm like, you didn't ask for simple copy editing. You asked for ghost writing.
Yeah.
And major rewriting.
Yeah, I get that. So where can we find you?
Oh, well, the easiest place to find me is on Facebook, Kristy Boyd Johnson, or the best place is if you join my Facebook group, which is Crush Your Expert Book. And that's the easiest place to find me. And I post every day, and you can communicate with me that way. And my website will be up soon. It's thenewauthorproject.com. It's in the works, so if you go check it out, remember it's still in the works.
And you also have a quiz they can take, don't you?
Oh, the quiz, yes.
Where they're at with their book.
Yes, and the quiz is crushyourexpertbook.com. And if you go to crushyourexpertbook.com, the quiz is right there, and you can take the quiz and see where you are in your readiness to write a book, see where you are with the whole process and everything. It
only takes about 3 to 4 minutes. It's
exactly.
Really quick quiz. Well, thank you so much for being on today and sharing this with us.
Thank you for having me, Juliet. I really appreciate it.